Hello. Uh, Typically, low water leakage property is very important in our tropical climate. Precise roll forming and engineered fastening system ensures water tightness. Beyond the water leakage, steel also have another advantage of being lighter in weight. So basically, it reduces the load on the structural frames and thereby potentially reducing cost of the project. Steel also been pre-engineered in the factories, cut to the length and enable installation of the larger panels, thereby assist increasing the overall construction speed and efficiency and reducing the overall project cost. Although you have seen on the previous slide the advantages of this steel, but selecting the right alloy coated steel plays very important role in determining how the building will age over the time. Typically, there are two types of galvanic coatings available in the market. The first one is a zinc-rich coating, which is known as Type Z, also known as galvanized coating, which is the combination of 99% zinc with some additive. And basically, and it works on a principle of sacrificial protection. This provides baseline protection to our environment, but in a tropical environment, typically the zinc-rich coating doesn't fulfill the overall demand of the corrosion. Aluminum, on the other side of the scale, aluminum zinc type of coating, those are the relatively newer generation of the technologies. And they combine the best of aluminum and best of zinc together. Aluminum gives the barrier protection, whereas zinc gives the sacrificial protection. And this dual corrosion protection mechanism ensures that the corrosion performance of zinc aluminum steel is much superior than the galvanized steel. This is a real world example, and basically you can see both set of panels were exposed in the same environment, severe corrosive environment in Australia. And after 12 years, I think the photo speaks for themselves. The galvanized steel not only showing the red rust, the zinc has completely been consumed because of the sacrificial protection, but it also resulted into the perforation to the steel. In the same environment, zinc aluminum steel did continue to show the limited sign of corrosion. And this data point is really important for our tropical region because most of the Southeast Asian countries have a longer coastal line and it also has the tropical monsoon. Based on this particular exposure corrosion mass loss data and the industry-wide recognized testing, it can be concluded that zinc aluminum steel has approximately 4 times up to the 4-time lifetime compared to the galvanized steel. This slide again reinforced the similar durability gap. This particular project was installed with the galvanized steel and the zinc aluminum steel at the same time. And after 10 years of approximately exposure, you can see zinc aluminum steel already started giving the red rust compared to the zinc aluminum steel, which still look relatively newer. A bit clarification point on this particular slide, zinc aluminum steel is the BlueScope brand. Usually being a leading brand in aluminum zinc coating technology, zinc aluminum name has been used as a standard reference to a lot of aluminum zinc coating in the market, but they are not of the same quality. Apart from corrosion, the color fading is another area of concern for most of the architect, especially for the building aesthetic and the branding purpose. However, I wanted to take away one point from this particular slide that not all the pre-painted steel fade at the same rate, okay? Because these are two pre-painted steel, and I think one of the example given by our Greenwith colleague, where that hat-shaped structure showing the color fading and also dirt staining. So the point here is basically the galvanized steel, which is on the right-hand side of this particular steel with the pre-painted polyester, once exposed to the accelerated outdoor testing on a hot rack, within the same period of time, it started showing the heavy signs of chalking and color fading. At the same time, color bond, you can see the pictures speak for themselves. At the same time, color bond, when it exposed at the similar condition, it maintained its original beauty. Initially, the two material may look identical, but once they are exposed to sunlight with harsh UV light, it will start deteriorating based on the type of polymer technology being used. Color bond steel is based on the zinc aluminum steel substrate. It's built on a zinc aluminum substrate and uses advanced paint technology, which is engineered for the tropical climate. thereby giving you the best color retention properties. This is another case studies from our Southeast Asian countries where maybe some of you can recognize this. This project was based in one of our Southeast Asian country where it started with color bond roofing system. So you can see in the background, there is a color bond roofing system, but halfway during the project, team has decided to go with the pre-painted galvanized type of steel. Fast forward 8 years down the line, you can. This project is based in a rural, benign environment type of location. Fast forward 8 years, color bond in the background still continue to outperform, show the beauty of the colors which is selected initially, and the galvanized pre-painted steel. It started not only faded in color, but it also started showing the red rust, right? Uh, Typically, color bond steel is available in multiple functionalities. Thermatech, which is solar reflective functionality, it reflects the infrared radiation in the solar from the sunlight, thereby giving you the cooler indoor temperature. Whereas clean technology, it is typically like self-cleaning type of mechanism, which cleans the dirt, tropical dirt sitting on the surface. The next generation color bond steel is embedded with Activate technology, and basically Activate technology is addition of magnesium into aluminum and zinc coating. Addition of magnesium into aluminum, zinc or zinc aluminum type of coating, it completely changes the microstructure of this particular coating, and right positioning of the magnesium compound determines, gives the superior corrosion resistance of that technology. To know more about this technology, please reach out to nearest NS BlueScope representative, and they will able to share more information on this part. This is my last slide. I just wanted to you guys to take away with this message that steel is not only construction material, but it's really a design enabler. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Umesh Mulik, for that very insightful presentation. Of course, ladies and gentlemen, we've just heard a comprehensive perspective on how this steel plays a really critical role in building resilience, and not only through protection and also durability, but also through efficiency and long-term sustainability. He also highlighted the real challenges faced by the architects today, from navigating performance requirements to selecting the right roof and wall materials that balances out aesthetics, function, but also the lifestyle value. Now, all through these challenges, ladies and gentlemen, we are reminded that steel offers remarkable versatility, enabling innovative forms, lighter structures, and modern architectural expressions without compromising either safety or also endurance. Now, of course, we'd like to thank you once again for that very valuable knowledge shared with us today. So, ladies and gentlemen, now we move on into the final keynote session of the afternoon. Moving on to session 4, presented by a distinguished Australian architect whose work explores the powerful relationship between culture, narrative, and place, with structuring place and culture. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, please put our hands together as he walks up to the stage. Creative Director of COX Architecture Australia, Architect Steve Woodland. Very delighted to have you here join us today. Please.
Thank you very much. Firstly, congratulations to NS BlueScope for hosting this symposium. I think it's incredibly important for all of us to be able to get together face to face for these kind of discussions. So thank you to BlueScope. I think it's a great initiative. Also, thank you to James Lee and his team for their hospitality. And thanks to all the previous speakers, including Nick, for his very elegant unfolding of buildings that we've not seen before. So I love that. Thank you, Nick. Before unpacking a few projects, I'd like to talk to sort of an underlying provocation which sits behind this cultural work, and which I think underpins much of what we've been talking about today and the theme of this symposium. Creating authentic cultural vessels remains, I think, crucial to society's future resilience and well-being. Social cooperation has been a key to our humanity's survival since the arrival of sapiens, combined with the ability for collective imagination, largely via writing and language. Cultural storytelling has galvanised communities, small and large, in shaping their destiny. Storytelling allows us to aggregate our thoughts and beliefs through which our culture is formed. Our social and cultural constructs have never been as dramatically challenged as by the irrepressible undertow of technology that we all face today. And in the face of these many abstract changes to society, I think that the need for grounded, authentic storytelling is significantly heightened. Embracing that future demands that we have a firm grip on our cultural trajectory, that we must tell our stories from a clear understanding of our place, our culture, and our own circumstances. In the absence of our decisions, silent forces will mute these cultural narratives over time. And I think the arms race between artificial and real intelligence begs many questions and challenges. Restoring and reinforcing our own authenticity in our own places and cultures is vital. Cultural architecture can be an extraordinarily potent storytelling device as the physical vessel for culture. It can and should be, I think, embedded in an authentic narrative which is intimately connected to its unique situation. In the physical realm, we all have an enormous responsibility to honour these legacies. We pour vast amounts of steel and concrete into these vessels, and they potentially shape and reshape places and memories. Celebrating the place and memories adds gravitas to the meaning and worth of our cultural structures. And it's through this lens that I'd like to explore a few key cultural projects over some recent decades. The West Australian Maritime Museum is probably WA's focal building for the state's sort of ranging maritime stories. We have significant maritime stories, and it's located on the edge of our main working harbour within Fremantle. The setting itself is quite remarkable, quite a remarkable one. The building is perched on what was the original headland into the river and within metres of what was the place of first landing for the Swan River colony in 1829. It's also been a place of significant man-made intervention. You can see in the underlay on the slide, in particular, C.Y. O'Connor's wonderful sweeping harbour. The design evolution of the building emerged from a fascinating array of influences, both uncovered and discovered as we progressed. As Western Australians, we are people immersed in a rich maritime heritage across diversity of cultures and geographies. And we are the custodians of a pretty vast and varied coastline and the keeper of a whole myriad of maritime tales. And it's through these that the building has been born. The project concept at its heart had a story of two things: the notion of a boat and a promontory. The architectural imagery of the Maritime Museum draws on the simple association of boat on the promontory, an image kind of widely held across different periods and regions and endeavours, and it carries the connotations of bliss of the Sunday sail on the Swan, or of endeavour in terms of stranded luggers in Broome, and reminders of risks in terms of the harsh realities of the many shipwrecks that dot our coastline. So the specific analogy is the clinkered hull of the first landing dinghy sent to this very promontory and pulled up on the sand. The first part of the story then is the promontory. Forest Landing is a site of enormous significance, as I've explained, but it was a promontory which had actually been lost. The new museum helped to re-symbolise the significance of that place, recreating the original sense of promontory which once existed. The project in that way kind of reclaims the meaning of the site and also opens up the promontory for public access. The geometry of the sort of gentle sweep of the harbour, which is C.Y. O'Connor's intervention for the main working harbour, along with the alignment of the slipways to the south, creates a powerful form that whose apex kind of points out through the heads to the Indian Ocean. The strategic positioning of the museum places it at the nexus of three distinct characters within the harbour: the ocean and river, the wharf, and the shipyard to the south. The second part of the story is the boat, the image of the clinkered hull on its side lying in the sand. This image drives the formal gestures of the building and is most strongly expressed in the bold, unique curved surfaces of the main roof and leisure gallery. And the overall silhouette then is one of the gunwale line gently rising from the stern in the east, leading to the apex over the water and concluding with the bow out to sea. The water side of the hull then generates a kind of soft, curvaceous building facing north into the harbour, and ever changing in shape as you move around it, and leading out the west to the Indian Ocean. The deck side, which is the southern side, promotes a flatter, kind of more industrial skin to the building, where it acts as a unique backdrop to a whole range of industrial objects, such as the harbour cranes, the slipway machinery, the wharf sheds, and the Oberon submarine. So in contrast to that northern composition, the southern elevation promotes a much more layered visual experience through the wonderful filigree of the cranes, slipways, and submarine. The boat on the promontory is a story of land and sea and the transition from one to another, the concept of stepping on and stepping off. And this is a central theme in many of the museum's maritime tales. To that end, the design of the building expresses this transition by locating the entrance on the east, journeying out westward. The eastern half then is seated firmly on the land, and there's a distinct transition point out to the west where the building is perched out over the sea. Internally, the hull form creates a wonderful curved and sculptured volume. It houses the central leisure gallery, which runs pretty much right through the building, incorporating a diversity of major craft from early pearl lugging stories right through to Parry Endeavour and Australia too as one of the focal elements. The space has been structured as one would a boat in a way, with curved steel plate and timber frames to which a hull cladding is applied, thus revealing the shape. The structure is expressed within the space, giving a sense of being within, if you like, within a giant hull as the internal experience. And those internal experiences allow a multitude of vantage points to explore the objects. So at the lower level, one can experience the underside of the hulls and their workings, whilst at the upper level, the viewer can enjoy a deck level experience. Industrial steel armatures form supportive and immersive frameworks for exhibition pieces and viewing platforms. Again, a kind of legacy of the working harbour industrial experience. And the cultural experience extends the functionality of the building to be a very popular and unique celebrations and event space beyond its simple museum function. The western prow of the building forms an emblematic and sculptural terminus to the composition directly derived from maritime forms. And an upper level public terrace forms a beautiful place of outlook which is positioned pretty much exactly at the point of first landing, and it's a natural point of gravitation along the harbour's edge. So the entire composition looks out to the Indian Ocean beyond, and the museum sits amidst the theatre of the daily harbour of the daily theatre of the working harbour itself. And in a way, this becomes a living extension of the museum's stories itself, adding to its authenticity and its contribution to place a form of potent, sort of potent reference point for WA's maritime legacy. So we move to the Albany Theatre Project, which sits on Australia's southwestern coast. We won this commission via a national design competition, I think in around about 2008. The previous building was around about 2000. Albany in southwestern Australia is a regional town holding a very rich history where land and ocean and town and harbour come together to create one of the great natural harbours of the world, and as was identified very, very early in the piece. So the setting as a stage is extremely important to that southwestern region. The township is seated within its own amphitheatre of significant hill forms surrounding it, looking down onto the waterfront where the theatre sits. The interrelationship between land and sea is intrinsic to the composition of Albany, and the topography is what created the harbour. The building forms, if you like, a crucial nexus between that topography, between township and harbour, connecting the community to what was a lost waterfront. The project was conceived as a kind of fully rounded sculptural object whose forms were actually derived out of the crystalline molecular structures of the granite which surrounds the hills, surrounds the entire site. So the setting demanded, we believed, a building response that was able to be viewed from all dimensions, from above and below. So a series of folded, interlocking forms create the overall envelope. The crescendo of the form occurs over the fly tower, which becomes the celebratory peak to that sculptural response. Connected triangulation provides a highly stable structural steel framework which perches delicately on the harbour's edge. And then the topographical silhouette is then echoed in the articulation and undulation of the building form. So the building's silhouette folds and moves to form highs and lows, reminiscent of the saddling hill form surrounding. I think the importance of the sculptural form is paramount to this location to enhance the shoreline vistas to and from the harbour. And in a way, roof and wall fuse into one. The planning assembly is the result of an integrated tripartite with the theatre itself at the heart, wrapped around by the front of house areas and sheltered by that triangulated folded envelope. And that folded form sits and lands gently on the wharf side in 4 points, at 4 points only. The centre forms a critical window to the harbour, so those foyer spaces all have visual engagement to the harbour, which is why we wrapped the foyer around. The public areas are highly transparent, promoting vistas out to the sea, but also back into the township. The form then generates a series of progressively increasing volumes from the west, and at its peak, the form houses the fly tower, which then reads as an integral part of the composition, rather than the traditional box-towered fly tower, which we're keen to avoid. So the theatre then creates a kind of jewel-like object placed in the heart of the harbour. It is, in a way, a piece of waterside sculpture, which is bred out of the crystalline molecular structures of the earth. The theatre itself is an international standard regional theatre which set new benchmarks, certainly for regional theatres in Western Australia. But importantly, it has brought significant new daily life to the foreshore, which had previously been separated, along with being a potential postcard experience for Albany. But it is a place for people on the waterfront which unlocks a lot of the rich history of the wharf. The building's skin itself forms a critical element in that sculptural expression. Each of the cut faces of the crystalline form is clad in metal. That patinated metal responds to the natural palette of the surrounding grey granite hills and vegetation. So you get this beautiful silver greys of granite, and the building is seen as a part of that palette. And it responds quite sensitively to subtle changes in light, bringing the building to life throughout the day. The broad narrative of the AC is also extended through a range of commissioned public artworks by a sculptor, John Tarry. John worked very closely with us from the inception of the project, and his beautiful sculptural works add to the resonance and consistency of the storytelling and sense of place. The internal public spaces, as I said, wrap around the theatre, around the building's heart. The volumetrics of the spaces follow the folds and planes of that external shell. And the public spaces form, at all times, have kind of visual contact to the harbour, so there's a clear relationship to harbour and back up to the township. At the very heart of the composition, the main theatre adopts a more internalised, intimate demeanour. It is deliberately darker and lusher than the public areas, and it kind of cues a sense of focus and drama as you arrive. At the eastern end, the multifunction performance space enjoys its own separate and discrete identity with separate access as required. Its volume is created by a secondary wedge form which emerges outwards from the fly tower. At night, the building becomes a beacon of its own energy and vitality. The public foyer spaces become fully revealed. The activation within engages outwards to township and harbour. And it forges a myriad of pathways and accesses between township and harbour, both to the edge and to various landscaped arrival areas. And there's a raft of, externally, there's a raft of places and spaces for informal gathering and socialisation on the harbour's edge. As part of the overall harbour composition, it's an elegant and non-imposing piece. It's deliberately visible. It is a large building in the context, but it is a sculptural piece which is part of the undulating composition of the harbour, sitting in the mountain saddle. It re-engages the harbour and its connections to the township. And importantly, I think it's an authentically embedded cultural piece which is added to the sense of place and meaning for Albany's remarkable harbour. We now sort of travel sort of 8,500 kilometres or thereabouts to the northern hemisphere for a project in Oman. The Oman Across the Ages Museum is located a few hours out of Muscat near the historic township of Nizwa. By way of background, the project was won via an international design competition in 2015 and opened last year. And as with most projects of this scale and complexity, we had a very large crew helping to bring it to fruition, mostly based in our Perth studio, but also a team, an on-site team, right through construction. In a way, this is a very different circumstance to the and culture to the previous projects, but again, the ideation emerged from an intensively authentic response to place and culture. Discovering Oman and its extraordinary landscape and culture has been an extremely memorable experience. Our client, the Royal Court of Affairs for Oman, led by His Majesty, had provided a pretty highly informed brief which embodied some pretty clear aspirations for the Omani people. Our core ambition was to create a piece of architecture which was immersed in those fundamental stories of Oman, its history, its place, its circumstance. And distilling that down, there were two central forces of inspiration that sat behind our initial ideas: the landscape and the culture. Firstly, we found the Oman landscape to be incredibly potent. It's quite raw, but a very beautiful circumstance. In concert with that was the extraordinary history and culture of Oman and its people, and the coincidence of this incredible piece of geography and human achievements became central to the ideation. And providing a cultural touch point for Omani youth was a very passionate undercurrent, both from the client and ourselves, from the project's inception. As a personal creative journey, the museum has been a compelling and joyful experience. The people of Oman have been so welcoming and open to me over the last decade, basically. And there has been, out of that, a collective desire to create a contemporary narrative for the Omani soul, a place of pride and ownership by all Omanis, and in particular, as I mentioned, for the youth of Oman. The compositional outcome is a cocktail of that incredible human achievement alongside this compelling landscape. And I think there's an infinite source of inspiration in the flux between the intimate stories of people and the grand stories of their physical environment. The ideation for the architecture emerged seamlessly from those points of inspiration. It's forged from an abstraction of the very powerful fractal angular landscape forms which surround, and refined into a carefully crafted, elegant structural outcome. The outcome, in a way, galvanises landscape and building as two quite potent compatriots. The drama of the landscape is, in turn, underpinned by the drama of the museum. The museum then exerts its own sense of place within the natural surroundings as an authentically derived sculptural and experiential form. And it has been, has a deliberately unique personality, is very much directly bred out of the earth of the site and of Oman. Volumetrically, the building literally emerges out of the earth, rising out of the land surface, and seeks at that point to create a blurring between natural surrounds and the physicality of the museum. So it is quite a unique partnership of people and nature, which is a significant undercurrent has been a significant undercurrent in Omani's life and history. The Al Hajar Mountains form an incredible jagged silhouette as the immediate neighbour embracing the building and the site. And the composition is abstracted from those extraordinary forms and translated into this unique structure. So the building form grows up and out of the earth from the south, rising to its own mountainous peak at the northern end. The building itself is an embedded part of the storytelling, so it's not just an enclosure, but a storytelling vessel in its own right. And in this way, the core narratives of the museum are echoed and reinforced by the building. I think a successful museum is about an ensemble of storytelling where building, exhibition, and experiential qualities come together. And it's this complete ensemble which gives the museum its personality and potency. For me, as I mentioned, one of the wonderful characteristics of Oman is the fabulous sense of openness and welcome, both in its people and in its geography. And the building seeks to offer this broad gesture of welcome and generosity of arrival, which is an open invitation for all to join the museum. This invitation leads seamlessly into the Welcome Hall, which offers panoramic views to the surrounding mountains. The journeys are largely intuitive and offer a progression of narratives from prehistory through to current day. So the journeys are thus orchestrated but still retain a sense of spontaneity and variety. There's the ability for choice in the pace and degree of forensic undertaking, and most critically, there's a progression from openness to immersion. A core message within the museum is Oman's remarkable period of Renaissance, which commenced in the latter part of the last century. There's and continues to this day in effect, and there's a progressive volumetric rising which marks this moment in the journey. As a balance to the intensity of the immersive gallery experiences, the timeline gallery and reflection pool provide places and time to contemplate the stories that visitors have been immersed in, a gentle and quiet space of calm. At the very heart of the composition, the village oasis provides a strong community focus. It's a place that people come to repeatedly as a part of daily life. The village oasis forms a crucial hub to the museum's journeys, a place of intersecting pathways and of social gathering. The stunning natural light of Oman does create very much the essence of the building and how it's read in its experiential qualities, and bathed in natural light, the spaces and materials are brought to life. Throughout the museum, the horizon plays a constant role in the storytelling and placemaking. Reference to the horizon and to the external circumstance, visitors enjoy a high degree of legibility and wayfinding. It's a very intuitive, very clear device for orientation. The entire materiality and feel of the building is bred out of the earthen qualities of Oman. The geometry is extracted from the surrounding Al Hajar Mountains. The fractal forms have been translated into the sculptural spirit of the building. The broad spatial arrangement is a sequential progression from south to north. The desert parasol provides the opening embrace into the museum, leading on to the great colonnade as the core axial gesture. The purity of the diamond geometry remains the informing planning structure across the entire composition, and that patterning forms a beautiful and elegant overlay and underpins the spatial assembly of the museum. And it's a patterning which operates at a variety of scales, from the macro structure down to the more intimate details. The earthen roofs rise up and over the gallery spaces to meet the great colonnade, and the timeline gallery then becomes an integral part of the a linear museum narrative as a chronological spine. The diamond planform steel structure springs from that linear element, creating very significant spans of 60 and 90 metres over the exhibition spaces. And sitting under this spine is a very long thermal labyrinth with phase change material which pre-cools the air overnight. The concept of the social museum underpins the ambitions for a museum that is owned by its community. And I think the wider notion of the contemporary museum entails longitudinal engagement with learning, provocation and research. And this is a crucial element for engagement with Oman's youth. And to that end, the Learning Centre is very much focused on this vital dimension of the museum experience. The gallery experiences are predominantly and deliberately integrated and immersive, in contrast to the sweeping, generous open spaces. The journey into the galleries is focused, intensive and compelling. They're composed to deliver intuitive storytelling in a two-way dialogue with the visitor. And in some areas, they're deliberately visually compelling, allowing the storytelling to be told and absorbed by all ages. And layered storytelling remains kind of informative and accessible to all of those demographics. The museum is relatively low in terms of object count, and where the objects do occur, they're celebrated in a more forensic manner. And there are distinct shifts between the very tactile elements through to, if you like, the smooth tech elements that also exist as a part of the storytelling suite. Interestingly, the building itself and its design ideation became part of the exhibition narrative ultimately, unpacking in a way some of the stories I'm telling today as a part of the museum's own narrative. Outside of these primary gallery experiences, the museum domain is shaped by natural light. There's a contrast between introverted and extroverted experiences, which I think is a very powerful storytelling device. The desert parasol forms a generous hovering form of shelter which beckons visitors into the welcome hall. And the desert court adjacent provides the only coalescence of vehicular and pedestrian movement amidst a very abstracted, minimalist desert landscape. It's a non-constrained and visually inviting arrival under the cooling shade of the expansive hovering parasol. The overarching philosophy for the landscape was very much a light touch. The natural landscape, as I mentioned, is an extraordinary circumstance that we wanted to nurture rather than intervene with. To that end, the bulk of the site has been left in its raw form as a beautiful broad gesture. And as you move closer to the building, the more intimate spaces become slightly more manicured, creating a series of outdoor rooms and spaces. The entire building palette is drawn from authentic Omani materials. In particular, the composition is drawn from local Oman stones from various regions. These are very beautiful stones that are truly at one with the museum's locale. Copper is also synonymous with Oman and provides a rich counterpoint to the tactile qualities of the stone. The stone is exquisitely crafted and delicately patterned. A water narrative bookends the composition from arrival to contemplation. Water and its harnessing is the lifeblood of Oman, and the foliage lines which radiate out from the museum symbolise this importance. And a narrow water foliage also forms a hallmark adjacent to the main arrival leading into the Welcome Hall. In contrast to the Renaissance Gallery, the Learning Centre rises gently upwards. Its apex hovers over the entry water body, and it forges its own magnificent undercroft space. It's a significant, memorable sculptural gesture that really symbolises the importance of learning and knowledge as an integral part of the museum, and occurs at the entry sequence. The beautiful longitudinal journey, which runs pretty much through the entire length of the museum, is embraced by the great colonnade to the west. And it provides this wonderful, it's a bit hard to see in photographs, but there is this wonderful sense of distance, almost endless distance, leading to the external horizon, which beckons beyond. This experience then extends outwards into the landscape and to the mountains. There's this sort of great sense of generosity of place and openness. It's also quite chameleon-like under the influence of the ever-changing light conditions, and just as the mountains themselves change their mood quite dramatically throughout the day under the shifting sunlight, so the building kind of parallels these moods. The building adopts an overall premise that no light fixtures are visible in terms of artificial light. The light is visible, but the source is not. Into the evening, the building slowly comes alive with gentle and discreet lighting. The sort of elegant, rhythmic quality of the colonnade then becomes accentuated as night progresses, and in this way, the museum continues to shine its story from afar, well into the night. And indeed, it continues its community life well into the evening, well beyond the realm of the traditional museum. So to sort of circulate back to the essentials, I think this is very much a cultural storytelling museum. It's not a tourism device, and that storytelling is a continuum from architecture to exhibition. The natural circumstance is a powerful undercurrent in the forging of the architecture, as is the cultural richness of Amman. So if we arc back to the original provocation, I believe that creating authentic cultural vessels remains crucial to our societies, various societies' future resilience and well-being, particularly in the face of technological change that we see currently. We must, in that sense, I think, tell our stories from a clear understanding of place, culture and circumstance. Within that lens, cultural architecture can be an extraordinarily potent storytelling device. So for those of us involved in forging our physical realm, we have an enormous responsibility to shape and honour those legacies. And I think this can lead to outcomes which are owned and treasured by their communities. Thank you.
Thank you very much, architect Steve Woodland, for such an enriching presentation. Please do remain on the stage and still stay together with us up here, if you don't mind, for the next session. But of course, as we have explored together how architecture becomes more than just structure, it actually becomes a vessel for culture, narrative, identity, and shaping spaces that carry meanings and emotional connections. Now, before we move on, of course, architect Steve, please allow me, I'm just going to take a quick minute to bid farewell to all of our guests joining us online before we move on. So, ladies and gentlemen, joining us online from Indonesia, from Malaysia, Thailand, Vietnam, thank you so much for joining us today. And on behalf of ASA, EAE, PAM, UAH, Glenn Murcutt, Architecture Foundation Australia, AustChamp Singapore, and BlueScope, thank you for spending your afternoon together with us. And we do hope that this symposium has inspired new ideas to all of you and fresh perspectives. So if you have enjoyed these sessions, please drop your favorite emojis in the live chat because we are seeing them. Thank you once again, and we look forward to seeing you at our next ASEAN Steel Architecture event. So from Jakarta, this is Sasha signing off. Have a wonderful day, and goodbye to you joining us online. How about we give them a round of applause and thank our guests joining us. That was them. They're joining us, of course, some from YouTube as well. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to begin the appreciation session. And to present the token of appreciation, I would like to invite Ms. Sue Ann Wilson, Executive Director. Next, I would like to also invite to come and join us architect Nick Sissons. Please come and join us here, director and founder of Sissons Architects, and to present the token today. Architect Nick, of course, we have also enjoyed your session today. You have brought us a lot of the projects that you've shown up here on the screen, truly beautiful. We'd like to invite Mr. Yan Su, Interim Chief Operating Officer, ASEAN, and President of NS BlueScope Thailand. Mr. Yan Su, would you do us the honors to present this token of appreciation? To architect Nick Sissons, come joining us here. Again, this is Omah Wayang, and we'll take a quick picture together. A big round of applause again to architect Nick Sissons. Thank you so much. We'll let you back to your seats. And Mr. Yansu, thank you. And now I would like to invite all speakers and moderators from session 1 and session 3 to join us. Architect Intanon Chantip, Architect Kundida Songkitipakte, please come and join us. Technologist Leong Saiping, please come and join us. And we'd like to also invite the representative of Architect Budi Pradono. We'd like to also invite to come and join us Engineer Kwang Do and Mr. Umesh Mulik. Please come and join us. Now, ladies and gentlemen, now as we move forward, we would like to take this time to honor the remarkable contribution that all of you as speakers and moderators today, because your insights, your expertise, and your perspective have totally enriched our understanding and brought a lot of depth to this symposium. Now, in recognition of your time and also to your dedication, our event partners today will present to you a token of appreciation, the Glenn Mercut's Unbuilt Works book, authored by architect Nick Sissons here as a symbol of creativity, vision, and excellence in architectural thinking. So we'd like now to invite each speaker to step forward as we introduce the presenting partners. Firstly, I'd like to invite architect Kuntida to please step forward. And now to represent your token of appreciation, representing ASA, please welcome architect Adul Kawedi, representative of ASA President and ASA Executive Committee. Please come and join us. And we'll let you hand over this appreciation to architect Kuntida Songkitipakte. And let's give a big round of applause. Thank you very much, and please remain on the stage. Don't go anywhere just yet. And now, I'd like to invite the representative of architect Budi Pradono to take a step forward and to present the token. I'd like to invite Architect Georgios Budi Yulianto, President of EAE, to come and join us. Hello, good afternoon. Please do us the honors and hand over our very special thank you to the representative of Architect Budi Pradono. A picture together. And thank you so much, gentlemen. Please remain on the stage. Don't go anywhere just yet. Next up, I'd like to invite Engineer Kwang Do to take a step forward and to present the token. Please welcome, we have Ms. Vuthi Hong Han, PhD, Architect, as a Deputy Dean, Faculty of Architecture from the University of Architecture, Ho Chi Minh City. Good afternoon, and we'll let you hand over the token to Engineer Kwang Do. A picture together. Thank you very much. Please remain on the stage. And our next one, technologist Leong Sai Ping, please take a step forward. And please welcome to hand over the token, Architect Daniel Ko Chung Ho, Chairman of PAM Sabah Chapter. Hello, good afternoon. Let's hand this over to technologist Sai Ping here and take a quick picture together. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Please remain on the stage. Don't go anywhere just yet. And now to our moderator today, Architect Intanon. Please do take a step forward. And to present the token, please welcome Ms. Jenny Mardiano, President of NS BlueScope Indonesia. Good afternoon. We'd like to kindly ask your honors to hand over our token of appreciation today to our moderator who have brought the session to become a very lively one. Such an interesting insights that we gotten from the speakers today. Thank you. Please remain on the stage. And now we're going to continue. Finally, Mr. Umesh Mulik, please do take a step forward as well. We'd like to also appreciate your time presenting to us. And to present the token, please welcome Ms. Grace Guang, General Counsel, NS BlueScope and BlueScope China. And a quick picture, big smiles to the camera. Hold, one more time. All right, please remain on the stage. Now, with the big group that we have already up here on the stage, we're gonna take a group photo, but we're missing some people to come join us. So, I'd like to invite to go back to the stage, Architect Steve Woodland, please come and join us. Ms. Suan, Architect Nick Sissons, please come and join us. And Mr. Yan Su, we'd like to also kindly ask your presence to come join us back here on the stage. All right, and with that, we're going to take a group photo together. Ladies and gentlemen, with that, we have seen a lot of great speakers share their insights today. All right. Everybody? Okay. We're going to need everybody to take approximately 2 steps to your right. Perfect. We have to make sure that we get this picture perfect, right? Okay. It's such a rare moment that we get everybody up here on the stage. Big smiles, everybody, to the camera in 3, 2, 1. Now let's wrap this up with another big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much. And with that, we'll let everybody go back to your seats. Thank you so much for joining us. Such a festive moment and creating a lot of memories together up here on the stage. Thank you so much. Now, ladies and gentlemen, shortly after that group photo, that brings us into the final session of our knowledge sharing series here at the Steel Architectural Symposium 2025. Thank you so much for being part of our meaningful discussion. Now, in just a moment, we will transition into our gala dinner, where we will continue with more celebration, networking, also appreciation. But before we proceed, now we'd like to invite all of the distinguished guests today to enjoy the foyer activities as our team set up the ballroom for the next session. So please do once again check your belongings and just to make sure that you don't leave anything behind.